So I've been freaking out for a long time thinking that I'm never going to finish this special and then I'm going to be working on it forever. And recently I've been feeling like, oh man, maybe I am getting close to done with this. Maybe I'm going to finish it after all. And that has made me completely freak out because if I finish this special, that means that I have to not work on it anymore, and that means I have to just live my life. And so I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to not finish the special. I'm going to work on it forever, I think. So yeah, I'm going to work on this forever, and I'm never going to release it. So I'm not talking to anybody right now. I'm just talking to myself. So yeah, who fucking cares? Fuck you, and goodbye, and let's keep going.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
Hello, Bartek. How are you doing?
Doing okay, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine and dandy. I'm here today with you, so things are already on the up and up.
We're in the same room?
We are in the same room. There was a period of time many years ago where that wasn't the case on a fairly regular basis. We call those the dark times of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We call them the wind chime era of the podcast.
Ah, yes, got to tie up the chimes.
The chimes of Big Ben that are behind Bartek's house. Yeah, we're already kind of leaping into it, but today we're here on the podcast to talk about a movie that has come recommended.
Maybe.
This was in theaters.
Was it?
This did get a theatrical release because it was popular.
Oh,
So
well, there you go.
we can talk about this. Today, we're talking about a movie that came recommended from you, the listening people. And after this, we're going to get a recommendation from Bartek, and after Bartek, a recommendation from me. We have a cycle we go through. Everyone gets a fair shake of the sauce bottle when it comes to recommending things for us to talk about on the podcast. And we had many suggestions from our friend Stefan, a guest of the podcast. He's been on several episodes. He's been on this show. No, has he ever? No, he didn't. Did he ever come on for Pictures Powwow?
Did we have him on for The Handmaiden?
Yes.
Or did he just recommend it?
No, we had him. I'm fairly sure. Yeah. So he's been on so many that I'm like, he's on all of them, right? No, but he's on most of our shows, and he gave us so many picks, and we've been going through them bit by bit. Him and your other friend, Amanda, who I've never met before. She's like the token girlfriend of your group. Not your actual girlfriend, but a friend who's a girl that I've never met before, but she also has very similar film suggestions to Stefan. Like, they often recommend things together, or like yes, I sign that off.
They've concurred on a couple because I asked them in the same group chat.
Yeah, which is very amusing. But Stefan recommended Inside, the Bo Burnham special. But we had a bit of a kerfuffle, didn't we, Bartek?
Mm-hmm.
And what was that kerfuffle?
Yep. So I think what it was that, he sent me a bunch of recommendations in one big message, and I wrote down all of the titles in our little Excel sheet that have the listening people choices. And then I went back through it because on our thing we have, a bunch of different cells that give like extra information. Like, it's from this year. Mm-hmm. This is the person that recommended it, and here's the IMDb link to it. So as I was going through everything and adding all of the IMDb links and the years that they came out, I think I just wrote down Inside. Mm-hmm. And Stefan recommends a lot of like darker toned modern films.
Yes.
So when I came around to Inside, I'm assuming that I looked at the 2023 film that we did 2 listening people choices ago and just assumed that was the recommendation. So that's why we did that as a listening people's choice, even though when I told Stefan about it after the fact, he hadn't even heard of the film.
That film's worth watching. Everyone give 2023 Inside a watch. It has Willem Dafoe stuck in one location. Pretty similar to this, but in a very different way. No, I thought it would be wise to go back to this because when I saw on our list Inside, I assumed it was the Bo Burnham one until it was like, okay, let's actually look at things, and I pressed the IMDb link because there was an IMDb link, as we do, to make sure that we're going on to the correct choice. And I assumed, well, I thought it was going to be the Bo Burnham one, but I guess Stefan maybe wrote like Inside the film, and I wouldn't be like you. I'm not surprised. It could be this, and so we did that. I even said on the pod, I was like, "Oh, I assumed it was going to be the Bo Burnham one, but no, it's this." But it was in fact the Bo Burnham special, so I thought, let's write the record and engage in a new form of discussion, because here on Pictures Powwow we talk about movies, but we have breached containment on the occasion every once in a while in terms of like what counts as a movie. And we've even had these discussions about like, as we live in the streaming age of entertainment now, things get put in there that are considered movies or not, or like there are filmmakers who make films, but they no longer get released in cinemas. They're only to streaming. And then we have things like this where they're so popular that they get put into cinemas because it feels like, well, we should give this the bump. And so it's this weird, wild world. But yes, Bo Burnham's Inside was a phenomenon when it came out, a pandemic-released piece of entertainment that is a comedy special from the comedian, actor, writer, director, Bo Burnham. And it's him in one room detailing his mental landscape of being inside. A piece that is very much a commentary on the pandemic, even though never references it directly, never says pandemic, never says COVID, never says those things. The most you get is 2020, the year is referenced, and that's about it when it comes to that stuff. But everyone, give this a watch for yourself. Like I said, that's the summary. There's going to be jokes, there's going to be filmmaking styles, there's musical numbers, there's a whole slew of things, but it's one man in one room, and you're getting this collage effect of the mental landscape of this person / us at home, and what things were like for us as well in a way. But I had not seen this before. Had you seen this or heard of this before?
I hadn't seen it, but I remember people talking about it when it came out, so I had general like presumptions of what it was like.
What did you hear? And, well, what about it kind of breached that realm of understanding? Because so many comedy specials come out, and I never hear you, like, talk about any in particular, or I always think, like, oh, Bartek's probably not aware of many stand-ups or comedy specials, but what is your relationship with that and with this?
I mean, it was just kind of similar to, like, Tiger King at the time, where when people were, during lockdowns, there were a couple of things that came out that became really big for various reasons, whether it was just good timing or something else. And with this one, it was the fact that so many people emotionally connected to it in some way. Like I was hearing like, oh, this is a comedy special, but it's something so much deeper than that. It's like some people don't even call it a comedy special. It was kind of reminding me of there was a comedy special called like Nanette that came out that a lot of
Hannah Gadsby.
Yeah, that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's a comedy special, but it's like not actually like a funny thing. It's actually like a really deep and personal thing. I didn't really know the full details about this one other than like, it's a comedy special that was made by someone while they were in lockdown. Like I didn't even really know who Bo Burnham was. I think last episode you had to tell me that, oh yeah, he was a YouTuber.
Yeah. I am also similar to you. I didn't really know Bo Burnham that well. I knew the thing I knew about him was he was a comedian, musical comedian. That was it. And then nothing of his work hit across for me. Like I never saw any of those YouTube videos. I never listened to any of his songs, never checked out any specials of his. Even when I reference that he's an actor, he's in things that I haven't seen. He directed a movie called 8th Grade, which is a very popular movie that came out several years ago now. That was, one of those great, like, little coming-of-age stories that people really enjoyed. And it's been on my watch list, but I haven't watched it. So Bo Burnham's always been this elusive figure where it's like I'm aware of the name. And Bo Burnham's like a name that you just kind of, oh yeah, it's alliterative, it's fun, Bo Burnham. Like that's just one of those things where you go, oh yeah.
Like I hear the name and I assume that it's like a country musician.
Mm-hmm. Right?
So when I found out, like, oh, this is like a young guy who's 3 years older than you, I'm like, oh,
Yep.
okay, my mistake.
Yeah, and when it comes to his YouTube stuff, he was one of those guys where it's like, I have all of these little songs and all of these little gags and whatever, and was just told, oh, just upload it to YouTube. It'll do fine there. And then viral success after viral success, and just what do you do with that when you are just a legitimate comedian who's doing the circuit, who's doing this and that, and then this unknown platform called YouTube you find actually gets you some things. And it's that hilarious standpoint too, where it's like, yes, he was a YouTuber, but that doesn't feel accurate to say. Like, he was a guy who uploaded his things onto YouTube.
Yeah. It's like, we're not really YouTubers.
But there is that dialogue still of, even today, this year, as we are recording, a bunch of mega success films that have come out from YouTubers. But some of those are people who are just like, I uploaded my art to YouTube because that's where we as young people do it now. And so do you still count that as being a YouTuber? You know, there's a difference between Markiplier making his feature film debut this year with Iron Lung. He's a YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
In comparison to the guy who did the Backrooms, where he's just like, I was a teenager during lockdown and I just uploaded my things to YouTube because that's what you do. You know, there's this weird thing. So Bo Burnham's another one where it's like, when he directed and wrote that 8th grade film, people were like, oh yes, comedian and YouTuber. It's like, no, but technically yes. And I reference all of this at the beginning because I did not see Inside when it came out. I only saw it just for this, and I had no reason not to. It was just that thing of, it exists. You know, off I go with other things that I want to watch. I never have any reason not to. And somehow, even though it was like a culturally relevant thing, the only thing I knew about it was there was a song about the internet, which I never heard, but I just always saw recommended on YouTube as just like the song about the internet and him sitting there in the blue lighting, giving a manic grin. And I was like, yep, okay. And I just would never listen to it. I would just move on with my day. And I don't know why. And so I was interested as well when this was recommended to us to go like, okay, let's circle back around to this, because there was a lot of debate about, like you said, with Nanette, for instance, of like, it's not just a comedy special. There's something more here, something philosophical here. And one of the things I knew as well was, since it was a comedy special during lockdown and it's in one location, he also has to utilize filmmaking techniques. And so that kind of pushed it into this other realm of like, is this a comedy special in the way that we know? Because there's all of this weird filmmaking and theater techniques that you're not going to get with a guy with a microphone and a spotlight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, what did we feel about Bo Burnham's Inside overall, though?
I'm very mixed on it.
Mm.
There were parts that I really liked, just because there were, creative, fun things to it. But I think there was also an element of my expectations of, well, this is what this thing is going to be. And the end result ended up being not that thing. And I know that I've had that a couple of times with things on Pictures Powwow, where it's like, oh, it wasn't what I thought, so I was kind of let down. But based on the reputation that this had, I was really sure that it was going to be, and it might even just be a thing where, like, I didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to kind of clear up my thoughts a bit in this discussion. Like, I'm going to be honest, this is one that I've walked in like, I don't know how I'm going to talk about this thing. This is very different from other things that we've done.
So, tell us a bit more about what those expectations were and how it played out for you instead.
So I, funnily enough, was thinking about a moment from our other Inside episode, where pretty late in that episode, you brought up the comparison of that film as being like a sort of analogy to the lockdowns and like the isolation people felt. And I mentioned like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that at all. And you asked me very plain, like, why not?
Yeah.
And that question just has kind of stuck with me since that episode. Like, why not?
And not to be rude, you didn't really answer that when I asked you directly why not. You kind of danced around to another point about the movie, and I've been still thinking, like, why didn't you think about that?
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I'm getting to now. And I think it just is because I've heard a lot of people talk about their experiences of lockdown, and it just hasn't really been too comparable to mine. Like, I think generally I had it pretty okay with lockdown. Like, one of the biggest problems for me was, like, this podcast. Like, I really didn't like doing it remotely.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, I wasn't isolated. I lived with family. I literally started working, and the lockdown, like, gave me a lot of work. I already mostly just kind of sit around and play games a lot, so I didn't really have, like, a boredom factor. I was kind of managing pretty okay. And so when I hear people talk about, you know, how much it affected them, like some people lost their jobs, some people like didn't get to do a lot of the things that they usually do in their regular life. And like lockdown was like a miserable experience for them.
People died.
People died as well. That's another very big one. It doesn't feel like for me that I can really like compare my experiences with that. So when I was watching Inside and like, you know, he was trapped inside, he couldn't do all these things. It just didn't come to my mind like, oh yes, of course, lockdown. Like, even though it should have been obvious based on the time period it came out.
Yeah. And so when it comes to this, though, when it comes to Bo Burnham's Inside, where are you going in terms of your expectations and then what this does?
So I was thinking, because of based on the reputation that this has, is that a lot of people really emotionally connected with this. I thought that this is going to be something that like really explored the psychological mindset of what it was like to be in the lockdown. And based on, you know, reviews that I've read, like people say that it has. But where I come away from it is that I don't know how much of this was truly sincere and how much of it was like performative, because he says very early on, I think like after the second song, like, hey, this is going to be, you know, a kind of mix of a bunch of different ideas that I've been having, you know, and there's so many parts in this where like you see him get like frustrated and just like start swearing. And I can't help but think about how all of the shots are like set up. There's like so much work that's clearly been put into this. There's like a producer credit at the end.
Most of it's him, though.
Yeah, most of it is definitely him. The trivia was true that like, you know, he did all of this without a crew.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's always going to be a producer because someone has to sell it to Netflix.
Yeah. And he even makes jokes very early on about like, what is something that I can do while still get paid? So it's just this very like unsure element of like, I don't know what parts of this were sincere. Like when he has that part where it's like, so I've been doing this for a year, and like he keeps stopping because he gets frustrated.
Yeah.
And then he like wanders off and like pushes a light over. I'm like, well, I don't know if that was like performative or if that was like genuinely him like not being able to do what he was intending to do in that moment.
Does it matter?
I think it does, because I wanted to see it and believe that it was sincere.
But if it is a performance like everything else, because most of this is songs, they are still getting at the heart of the matter that people felt psychologically and emotionally speaking. So if you have these moments, if they are or not performances, is it still not getting to the heart of the matter of these frustrations? Like, one of the things is it's not polished. Like, when we see the inside, everything's like a chaotic mess of cables and lights and all of these things. Like, even the beginning where he's like got the camera to the mirror and he's talking to us, you see like the flashing light of like the oven or the whatever it is in the background, just this ugly little visual detail that's happening. And so I'm like, I understand that, but at the same time, like with any of these performance pieces for film or live things where you're opening up music as well, there's always an artifice, because you can never be 100% in the open. And this tells you that straight up. Like, you do have these songs that's like, I'm doing this as a performance piece. I'm doing this as an art piece. I'm doing this for money. He literally has the Venn diagram of him and Weird Al, because he has to acknowledge that he's doing Weird Al for a lot of this too. So like, I don't want to say that you are invalid. I'm just like, a part of me just goes, yeah, isn't that what a lot of these things do? The thing that I found with Inside as a piece is people are so concerned with, and I think Bo Burnham himself is concerned with something that I just don't believe matters, which is, what's a comedy special? It has to be a comedy special. If it's not that, then what is it? I don't really care about that because like I've seen enough art pieces. Like the person who came to my mind the most was Spalding Gray, the spoken word artist. He was the not mayor in True Stories, and he was the therapist in the Dolly Parton movie we did. Like he was a guy, and we, I can't remember if you were there for that lesson, but in university, Bartek and I, we did something that was very related to Bo Burnham's Inside and what Spalding Gray did, which is you had to do a monologue of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of that whole unit was like dealing with the fact that you are portraying something that is honest, but also dishonest, because you can never really separate the art and the artist. But there is a performance going on. And in that unit, one of the things we watched was Spalding Gray's Monster in a Box, in which it's him sitting at a desk telling you all of these life stories. And they're funny and they're scary and they're upsetting. And it was just an art form. And the thing that I found with Inside was I liked it very much. I very much enjoyed it. But I do feel, because Bo Burnham's a stand-up comedy guy and he's a musician and all of this stuff, I felt my biggest negative about about this piece, and I will call it, like, we'll call it not just a special but a movie as well, because he really did use a lot of cinematic tricks to elevate this beyond just being a stand-up comedy special, just like how Spalding Gray's spoken word filmed material are movies as well, where he had like big directors or people would go on to be big directors direct his things. Like Steve Soderbergh did one of them, Jonathan Demme. Like, I think Bo Burnham, I think he himself, the issue that came to me when it's the authentic or inauthentic was the concern of this is a comedy special rather than just it's an art piece.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it leaned into just being more of just who cares if this is a comedy special, like he will be inherently funny because Bo Burnham, from what I can tell, is an inherently funny guy, but there's little moments where he talks about how he stepped away from doing stand-up comedy because he was having panic attacks on stage, which is an awkward place to have them. And I kind of wish we had more insight like that, just sprinkled throughout Inside way more than just like, here's the next comedy song, here's the next stand-up bit, here's the next thing. But I'm not saying like it didn't come together. I think it does. But my biggest issue with this was, like with Nanette, with the discourse, and like with so many, every few years there's one of these stand-up specials that challenges the format of what stand-up is. This one in particular, it's a given because of the global circumstance that made it, rather than the personal circumstance alone, like with Nanette. But I get so tired of like every few years there's one of these specials where people get so hung up on like, what is a comedy special, when there were people like Spalding Gray that had decades-long career where no one cared about that. They were just like, this guy's a fantastic storyteller, where he can be in David Byrne's True Stories and he can just do his Spalding Gray thing where he will tell us about how, you know, when God made the earth, he made this town and he made it hard like concrete, and it's just Spalding Gray doing whatever he does. It's not comedy, but it's not funny. And that was my biggest problem with Inside overall. Like, how did you feel about that? Because you and I, we studied drama, we've seen a lot of different performance styles, lots of different theater, lots of different ways of telling stories, and I found like that to be the push and pull of just like, it is very funny, we get lots of music, but there were moments where I was just like, I kind of just wish it was just more speaking about what's going on in the head there.
I mean, in a way, that's kind of what I'm getting at as well, that he doesn't have to, you know, just try to be funny. He can just, you know, just talk about what's going on. And like the expectation that I had going in was that it was just going to be this like sincere, like, here is who I am kind of thing. Rather than, just a series of things that jump, around, like different topics that he's been thinking about. And I did mention that, some of the comedy really did work for me. There were like some funny songs here. I really liked the like reacting to himself thing that he just did. Like, that's a really funny idea. But
I liked his Let's Play.
his Let's Play, that was also very funny. Like, there's a bunch of like very funny, this is a very segment kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very anthology in a way. And there were many that worked. But I did just want to come away from all of this thinking that, this was going to be something that I wouldn't be doubting it at the end.
So, to talk about Inside a bit more, our own personal stuff comes up. You've already broached the subject with what things were like for you at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a part of what makes it a very effective piece as well, is like, it's an avenue of self-reflection or looking at the state of the world even after all of these years later. Like, it can be very easy to flippantly be like, it's very of its time. No, it is of its time, but it's also striking upon things now and things that were of that time that you look back on and you go, why didn't I feel like this? Why wasn't this for me? I was the exact opposite of Bartek. When the pandemic happened, everything in my life got fucked over. It wasn't just this podcast. My wife and I got married. It was supposed to be the start of a new chapter of our lives. And then before we knew it, the whole world was shut down. Australia was on fire for a start.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were in lockdown upon lockdown upon lockdown. Rachel had just started, working at, new school environments, and then you're in lockdown, and that completely changes the career environment. Like, you're a teacher too, but when you were doing your job, what was that like for you during the pandemic times? It wasn't the same.
Well, the funny thing was that the start of my career was basically during pandemic
Yeah.
times. So when the pandemic times ended, that's kind of where the change happened.
Right?
Yeah, and plus, to be clear, I'm a substitute teacher.
Mm-hmm.
When people are sick, I got called in, and people were sick a lot during the pandemic.
Of course.
That's what I meant by, work was lucrative for me.
Yeah, but it wasn't what you expected.
Yeah.
Right? You thought you were going to go to a classroom and interact with people in the real world, not just boot up your laptop or whatever device you used.
That was a minor part of it. Most of it was still in classroom.
Yeah, but like, you were at home, yeah?
During the few times we had the lockdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
But most of the time, it was still at the school.
But so it changed for a lot of people, and it was very frustrating and very demoralizing. And I think what Bo Burnham is capturing so beautifully here that I guess did not gel with you is because everything's so fragmented. Like, the joke, he sets it up so beautifully. He makes the statement, like, he says, he's very candid with us, like, hey, some of the transitions, and then it abruptly cuts off into the next thing. Like, that tells you everything you need to know. But I think as it goes along, it goes so well into capturing the mental landscape that so many of us felt, where time started to feel very strange as a thing in our lives. Like, each day bled into the next, and the past became this ever distant thing, and the future seemed not possible because we're living in this form of stagnation. And for most people, when they live in a form of stagnation, and one against their will, but also it was necessary, it goes real weird for your brain. And there's only so much you can do. And each segment of this kind of feeds into that. Like, here's a segment where let's look at all the white girls' Instagram pages and all the trends that they're doing, and where they're making it look like life's going great right now. And let's look at the Let's Plays. Let's look at the reaction channels. Let's look at, all of these things, whether we're watching it or they're artists, creative people, like, oh, I'll give this a try. I'll give the lockdown Let's Play a try, that type of thing. And it's like, how much of that is you authentically wanting to do it, or you just, I have nothing else, I have to do something. And I very much felt that. I think the most relatable part of this for me was the bit where he gets really, really psychotic, where he looks at the camera and he's like, "Look, the thing is, this special's going to end. I'm about to finish this special, and the thing is, I don't want to finish this special because then I have to confront my life. So." Actually, the special's not going to finish, guys. I'm not going to finish this special. In fact, it's going to continue to keep going forever and ever. And I'm like, I have felt that before. I have felt that many times before. The lockdown brought that sensation many times over. But as a creative person, I've felt that many times where you kind of delay things, you stretch them out, you like, oh, it's going to end, and then what's next? I have to do this thing or that thing. No, I'm just going to make it go forever. And I found that to be one of the most hard-hitting moments of all of this.
Nice.
Yeah. It was just one of those moments where I had a laugh, but also a laugh of like, pulling my collar, like, uh-oh, I'm being seen in this moment. And it's an extreme low point for Bo in it as well. Like, when it came to the way it's all presented, you had your issues, but like, what did you feel about the nature of it's like it's on shuffle, because you can tell at different points because of his beard length, his hair, his physical body, like he's very muscular in some moments, very schlubby in other moments. Like, it's not like a chronological display of like of being stuck inside. Like, it is on purposely
even
all over the place.
Even his final song, like, it cuts to him singing parts of it, like, clearly in the past before he had his hair cut and shave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what did you feel about that creative choice? Because that's one way it's like you have to decide, like, when you're doing something like this, like, how am I going to chronicle this entire thing? And very much went with a collage effect.
Yeah, well, on a visual level, it was always really interesting to look at. This wasn't one where, I was like getting bored and wanting to look away, but he has a lot of like really interesting lighting stuff going on. Like, there's a part where he's got like a light on his head, looks up at a disco ball, and it creates like a lighting effect. He's got all sorts of different lights to create other different sort of tones, like the famous internet song with was it like green dotted lights all over the place.
And then it becomes like a nebula in the background.
Yeah. So it was always great on a visual level.
Oh yeah, different camera angles as well, intense close-ups, and reflections, lots of uses of reflections, and he's using this space, and it becomes more and more cluttered as it goes along as well. It's just the amass of cables, and that segment where he just like grabs the camera and just was like weaving it around on his arm and hand. It just becomes so disorientating to see, and then it hard cuts to him on a laptop watching it, just be like, okay, like just with no sound, like with no exterior sound, just that on a like laptop mic, and he's just like, right. Like, he just coldly like, this is the art I've made. And I think that's something relatable too. It's like when you make this process, like, look, I love making the podcast, you do too, but there also comes a point where, I have to go, okay, I sit down, I edit it, I upload it, next one. That's a part of this, unfortunately. And you hear that, and I thought that this movie captured that beautifully, where it's like you see he's really passionate about these things, but also you get the abrupt hard cut to him just coldly, meekly, depressingly being like, yep, that's more content. Some of the songs are even about like, well, we're at the end times, got to make some content. Like, that dynamic, like, how do you feel about like that in terms of just the creative industry and space that we engage with, whether it is ourselves when we make our podcast or like when you're watching things? Like, sometimes I get like in the mode where it's like, I can't watch someone because I'm just like, they're just making content. But then I'm like, but I really like it. And then there are moments where I'm just like, all right, then they're doing shorts now. Oh, they're doing a Let's Play now. Oh, they're doing a podcast now. I'm like, oh, it's too much. But then I'm also like, but I want it. It's one of those weird things that we have so much, but also we don't want it.
Little bit of everything all the time, I think was the line.
Yeah. What did you feel about that commentary in this?
I was interesting because you mentioned, you're the one that edits the podcast. I've only edited 3 episodes out of, we're almost at 400, I think. Oh no, we've crossed 400, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a very small fraction of it. That was an interesting look into it as well, I guess, because it isn't something that I fully connect to. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have anything more? Like, this is something like in the world we look at things like when you boot up YouTube, you get a whole cavalcade of stuff that's as the internet song talks about, the internet at one point in time, whether it's a literal year or figurative or something in our mind, was this warm, happy, fuzzy place. But then it's just here you are inundated with everything. It doesn't matter. It's just here it is in your face. Nowadays we call it slop. In this, he calls,
Yeah, if this was made a few years later, the S word would come up.
the S word. Yeah, like when you talked about your life during the pandemic times and that you didn't go through that in the same way, like, do you have any reflection on that? Like what do you feel about that in terms of things? Because it was a period where it's like we went through something that you would hope would only be once in a lifetime, and it was catastrophic event for most, but for you it didn't change your life in any way.
Yeah, not too much. Like I said, there were a couple of new chapters in that. Like I properly started working, and so a lot of those other elements like kind of overtook, the tragic element. And there is like a level of guilt I sometimes have when it comes to talking about that. I'm kind of feeling it right now, where it's like, oh, yeah, that was a really, really bad time for a lot of people. I relatively got through it kind of all right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily like a survivor's guilt, but it feels like it gets into there sometimes.
One of the things that Bo Burnham is often criticized about, or people have conversations about when it comes to inside, is white liberal guilt, is a thing that is brought up with this and his work in general. He talks about it in this as well. Like, he has whole songs about this type of idea of just like, I feel bad, but I should not feel bad because other people have it worse, but I inherently need to feel bad because I need to feel something. And, I should feel some form of guilt or some form of ownership of I haven't done enough, or I could do better, or I have this or this or this or this. And that kind of just feeds into the anxiety. It feeds into this never-ending loop in the mind. And I think that's what propels a lot of the bits in this, rather than feeling like, oh, I've just watched a compilation of his songs or a compilation of his stand-up routine. Is there's these running through lines thematically, and that's one of them, of just like this sensation of like feeling bad about feeling bad, even though for him and for me and for most people was stuck in a situation that is actually legitimately bad. Like, I didn't idly mention, like, when you were listing off things about the pandemic, I didn't idly just go, oh, and people died. Like, it was a thing where people are dying. And we were inside and we're like, well, it's bad, but look, I have YouTube videos I can watch now. Oh, I can play more games now. Like, there's this thing where you kind of cope with it, and the levels of like how much you engage with how fucking terrible it was on a grander scale was up to you. Like, I don't know what you were like with that. Like, every time I engaged with Bartek during the pandemic, it was for the podcast stuff, and it was always just like, hey, what have you been doing? Oh, we've been playing games, doing this and this and this and that and that. And I must admit, like, when it came to the actual worldwide crisis, we didn't talk about it too deeply. It was just like, oh, this inconvenience on this specific dynamic, because it's awkward to talk. It was awkward to talk about. Like, I remember very vividly a few weeks before official lockdowns fully happened, sitting in the room we're in right now with you and our friend Will, and I just said, this pandemic thing's kicking off. Like, when these lockdowns happen, here's what we need to do. Like, I remember being like, here's how we got to go moving forward. And both you and Will kind of naively, I would say, in retrospect, were kind of like, oh, if it comes to that. And I'm like, I think it will. And it did. It did come to that. And we needed to do things, for our relationship. And I think, like, what Inside captures so beautifully is, like, what it does on an individual level. Like, Bo Burnham's an artist. Like, that's his career. That's what he is interested in. He's a musician. So it's like, well, now I have the time. I have the time to make my songs. I have the time to look at the world and feel about it. But, like, also it's severely depressing. I'm confined. I'm trapped. Like, he, like with the film, the 2023 film, Inside, he is trapped in an ivory tower. He's trapped in this thing of luxury. Even though this room's a tiny little room, he's all of these technological conveniences to keep one sane, in quotations, sane. But we see with the clutter, with the way that the music is framed, like some of the music's like this grand rock opera thing, but then other times it's like carnival music where it's just now growing insanity. And I think all of those things come together beautifully to give you this tapestry of just like the friction one feels where it's like, technically I have all the things that could keep me going, but also they're making me feel worse.
Hmm.
Mm.
You mentioned the White Girl Instagram song before. That was another highlight for me. That was a lot of fun. It was I think the one that was stuck in my head the most afterwards.
Oh, really? Just a really earwormy song for you?
Yeah, yeah. I guess in terms of like, relation, it is looking at something that is also, again, unfamiliar to me. But it's broken down in this stereotypical way that feels right. Like, oh yeah, they do post stuff like that.
Yes, and there's something humorous about like this really tall, bearded, long-haired man replicating all of these, even shirtless and
yeah. I will point this out because I think I am a lot negative on this. Like I do genuinely think he's a talented guy and he's very fun.
Oh yes, yeah. I really like the detail with the Instagram Girl song of. Later, we get the behind the scenes of that and just how pathetic it is when you have to film things like this on your own. Like, we get to see him laying on the floor, putting the flowers on his eyes, and it doesn't have the filter, it doesn't have all of that. And it's just like, it's just dim. And, when you're doing, things like this, when we went to university and did drama, there were these moments where you're just like, I feel silly doing this. Like, oh, our drama teacher will be like, do this exercise where you do this thing. And Bartek and I, decade plus later, will talk about how silly that exercise was or whatever. But I really liked how we have like this vibrant, very gorgeous filters effect where his eyes are vibrant blue and all of this of replicating the Instagram Girl thing. And the song itself is already a commentary about how fake all of that is and just how phony and just like, how do you feel about these people out there in this time we're living in, replicating this idea that things are all cheery and going well. And you're like, it's not though, is it? And then later in the movie, later in this special, we get him replicate, like him doing those scenes, and it's just like the reality of just like how awkward it is. Like, okay, I've got to make sure that I'm center in the frame. I've got to make sure that I've got to lay on the floor for this one. Just like the body language says it all, and I just really appreciated that because as someone who's had to do a lot of random creative stuff, there are moments where you're just like, all right, I've got to put on this outfit. I've got to do this thing. Hopefully, it all works out well. Yeah, just sometimes the creative process can be very humiliating, even if the outcome's worth it.
Yeah, good look at the behind the scenes that you wouldn't normally show.
Because it's filled with those, often for comedic effect, but then every once in a while, just something like that of just like, here's an insight that's uncomfortable to think about. And you're not supposed to see these usually.
Yeah, we this isn't something we saw necessarily, but one of our friends at university, they did a show that involved urination during the show. And we like to bring up the fact that, like, after they did the scene every night of doing the urination, they'd have to then run over off stage to a bucket to, like, finish off the peeing.
It's just an awkward thing to do every night.
Yeah.
Or yeah, we've seen so many crazy theater shows and so many crazy films and TV things where you think about, like, logistically what it is like to do those things and how unfun it is. Bartek and I have had the pleasure of doing a lot of fun things that are fun to do, but also there are times where you just go, all right, this was a bit awkward, but we're going to muscle through, we're going to do this or that. And, the pandemic was one of those things that kind of brought that to the forefront. Like at the very beginning of this discussion, we mentioned wind chimes when we were doing the podcast through Discord or Zoom or whatever the case. Bartek has wind chimes in his backyard that are so loud that it would pick up on his microphone. And there came a point where I'm like, Bartek, you got to deal with these wind chimes. And now it's like a shorthand of just like silence the chimes.
Yeah, tie up the chimes. I would
tie up the chimes.
I would literally get a plastic bag and use it as a rope.
Right?
Around the chimes.
And see, we don't include that in our podcast. Like, we don't have a way of physically including that in our podcast. But if we did, I think it'd be like this awkward little, like, here's a behind the scenes thing of just like how awkward do we
I'm pretty sure we had an episode with a guest Sorab, our friend Sorab, where I offhandedly mentioned like tie the chimes and he got confused.
Yes. My favorite song in this, it's real difficult. I really did enjoy Socko, the children's show one, in which he just starts talking about all the systematic problems in the world and just how they keep just stacking on top of themselves and like, what can we do about that? And just the feeling that there is nothing you can do about that. And just being able to recognize that those are problems is maybe the only thing we can do in a system that keeps fulfilling itself. And then just cutting that off and being like, how dare you? Like, just don't you apologize to me. Just that was a very humorous song, and I just really enjoyed the visuals of that. I thought it was very creatively done. I like the voice that he did for both himself as like the children's show hosty type character, and for the little sock puppet that he had. It was just very entertaining. I thought that one was just a good song, but also I like the commentary it's making, and just visually speaking, really, really fun. Just like puts a lot of effort into something, and you immediately know as soon as it starts with him, like he has like the different type of microphone on. You're like, oh, he's going to do like a children's show thing, the spotlight and like the bright orangey color. I'm like, oh, he's doing a okay, I'm in.
Yeah, that one and the gaming stream one got me thinking about like, the fun behind the scenes of like, oh, what would it be like to make that one? Because both of those involved reacting to things that aren't like literally happening. Like he's not literally doing the voice of the sock puppet there. He's not literally like streaming and doing the actions of the game at the same time. So just like working out the timing or working out like the scripting of like, okay, I have to say something at this point.
Yeah. We get a lot of little moments like him sitting down on the floor, just playing with a bunch of buttons and making the lights move. Like we get so many interstitial moments of like the process of making these fun things that we, the audience, are dazzled by. And he just like hard cut to him hunched over, just like sighing and just being like, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, okay. Make sure the keyboard is tuned up in this way, okay, gotta do that. Like just details like this. And or when he has projections over projections is fun as well. I really liked that. Like
there was one where he was like on his shirt, his white shirt.
Yeah, I like that. But the streaming one, the Let's Play one, I really did enjoy, where it's like him playing a game where it's just like all you could do is cry, basically. That's all you could do. And he's just
cry and minor interactions.
Minor interactions and cry. He's just like, oh yeah, pretty good. Like, it's like, I don't know what its deeper things are saying, but awesome game, guys. It's
he took a dig at your favorite game, Death Stranding.
He did, because it's fucking boring. But it's art, guys. It's really deep. What Let's Player do you think he was riffing on? He did a different voice and everything when he was doing it.
It seemed like a very general streamer kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I just felt like he's doing a Markiplier voice. I brought him up before. He's doing like that deep voice. That kind of deep radio crooning voice that he has, where he's a guy that's like, I play Five Nights at Freddy's, guys. It's a really deep game. You're like a 40-year-old man. like all right, you just made your feature film about Iron Lung, a game you liked, and it's just kind of like everyone's celebrating that. I'm like, all right. Like, that's what I got from this live stream section, like let's play section. It's just like this level, like here's this like artsy fartsy game that's like a commentary about like just how depressing it is, and then you just have the guy being like, oh wow, well, what's that all about? Huh? Pretty crazy. 2D. All right.
I guess as an esoteric joke, the fact that the game was called Inside and there is like an indie game called Inside that was pretty popular, so it was like a subversion of like, oh,
that is a 2D game as well.
It's not that game.
It's not that game. Yeah, another song that I really enjoyed. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, you know, the internet song is great. I mean, that's the big one. That's the big one everyone champions and really, you know, praises.
The changing of the pacings in that one was really fun.
And the soundscape, like he mixes all of these different sounds in when it changes near the end too, to make it even more manic in a different way, like reverbs, different notes, giggling sounds, like all of that was extremely creative and fun. Like, you know, it's easy to say like that one's one of the greats. I like the Socko one. I liked what was the other one I liked? No, I did like his final song as well. Like, I liked when it was just like the intercutting of him at the start of this journey and him now being like, what do I do with this? What else is there you want to say about Inside, Bo Burnham's Inside? Is there anything else you want to point at or discuss or flag up?
Not too sure.
What did you feel about when he went outside?
The end?
Yes. And then it's not outside. Like, he goes outside, but he never actually goes outside.
I was wondering, like, oh, is it going to be like a set or something? Like, oh, it is.
Yeah.
And it's a joke.
Yeah.
He can't get back inside.
And then it's not a joke, as him that's inside watching this projected looks absolutely miserable and like he's about to go into an Evangelion scream. That was a very effective moment because you're waiting, at least I was, you're waiting for him to go outside. You're like, okay, this is called Inside, but we're going to do the thing where at the end he does the Truman Show and leaves, right? Are they going to do the Truman Show thing where it's like he opens the door and salutes and then we're going to go, we're actually going to go outside? What are we going to do here? And I liked that it was a little subversion, like a little like, hey, it's outside, but there's a spotlight. It's still artificial. Even if it's not a set and this is the actual room he's in and this is the outside of it, it's still artificial. And then it's made more explicitly artificial as we are seeing it's projected inside that room and he is looking at it like a Orson Welles and Citizen Kane just bitterly watching the opera and he's going to clap. Like, he just does not look pleased with himself about this at all. Yeah, that was very effective. But the big thing, I mean, how do you feel about this in terms of that discussion mentioned earlier about what makes a movie? What makes a special a special? Like, because this does go out of its way, and because of the confines of what was happening in the real world, it can't just be a comedy. Like, it can't just be like a Bo Burnham's new Netflix comedy special. Like, it is inherently going to not be that, and it has to engage with the medium of filmmaking more than a lot of those do. So, where do you land on that?
Yeah, it's still hard for me to properly label it. Like, everywhere I've seen, the only consistency of what people call this is just special. Like, not even comedy special, it's just a special, which evokes in me like, oh, like a TV special. Like, this kind of feels like a variety show. You know, you got like different segments. I think because I had to acquire a copy of this through torrenting, and some of the torrents that I had the option of downloading for it would like list not just like one big file of like, you know, the whole Bo Burnham special, but like each individual segment of it as like, you know, a few minutes each. So it makes me, you know, think of like, oh, this is like a sort of like album or like a video album of some sort. And I know that like in terms of awards, like it won some Emmys, which is typically like TV stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, just what lens are you gonna like try to analyze like what this thing is? Like, you keep bringing up like the theatrical elements,
theatrical and cinematic.
Yeah, theatrical cinematic elements to call it a movie. And then you mentioned, I didn't know that it was shown in cinemas at one point. So yeah, it's kind of like what you were saying about how you can break away from comedy. I think this is just a thing that is kind of breaking away from a established structure of some sort.
Does the internet make that more of a possible thing? To have that be the breakaway of the format. You know, back in the day, you'd have to do indie cinema circuits like Kevin Smith with Clerks, for instance, which is a film, but it didn't follow traditional film structure at its time. Like, is the function of the internet age something that changes this idea? Like, if this, like, you know, this is on a streaming service, you know, but it is not just that. Like, this inherently, in its very design and its very nature, is using theater techniques mixed with cinema techniques in a package that is very much internet delivery. Like, all of those things together feel like they would clash or form a disharmony, but they all cohere and they became a very evocative piece of art. And so again comes to the question of, like, what is it? Like, and does that matter? But, like, what is it? And I think, like, it's a hybrid of all of these things. Like, yeah, it's a special, but it's pretty cinematic and it has like a coherent point throughout it all, even if it is showing its bits in very, you know, dissonant ways, but it's by design. You know what I mean? Like, I always think about, like, how
It's not all improvised. Yeah, it's definitely purpose to it.
I'm sorry to do it. I always think about Nostalgia Critic and how people are like, his movies. It's like, are they movies? Or are they just bits stitched together to movie length? They were released week to week, some of them, right?
Yes.
But then people call them movies. It's like, are those? And it's like, well, people do want to agree on this and that because they were from the internet. But does that matter now? Like, does that kind of pushback of, oh, it's from the internet, oh, it's from YouTube, it's from Netflix, does that hold much water for you?
That is a good point, because I did watch all of those, like, in the week by week release. So I don't know that I have actually rewatched those in, like, the full edited together format, other than, like, you know, the commentary that some people made over them. Yeah, it's certainly as it went on, because a lot of people like to point out, like, the very first one he did, which was really just like a convention special video of, like, oh, let's all get together and, like, do a goofy fight.
Yeah.
But the later ones, they do have, like, a narrative that's going on. They do have, you know, a script that they're working off of, all sorts of, like, production stuff that's going on. So yeah, they do kind of compile into something that you would call a movie.
And something we've never done on the podcast, but they are movies, but concerts. They are concert films. I am literally in a few weeks going to see the Talking Heads Stop Making Sense movie, and that's a movie. That's a movie that Roger Ebert reviewed on the show that he did with Siskel. Like, so again, like, that those are considered movies, but those don't have narrative structures and things like that this did. But those are considered movies because A-grade directors directed them, and Martin Scorsese's directed concert films for the Rolling Stones, and those are things that you can show in the cinema and call them movies. But are they? And I think for the most part, people say yes.
Okay.
Like,
have I seen any of those?
I don't know. I don't think Purple Rain. That's a movie.
I've seen,
but
Purple
it's just
Rain.
but it's an album. It's a music video album. Same with Tommy that we did. That's a movie, but it's also just a collection of random music videos, really.
Was that officially an adaptation?
Yeah, of an album, yeah.
I guess the adaptation part's the key thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it's just all these disparate elements brought together by a filmmaking lens, and we accept it because, you know, it was of the time. But we're in this era now, like I said, where this, for instance, is using all of the different eras of storytelling technique. You know, it's using stand-up comedy elements, it's using theater elements, it's using cinematic elements, and it's using elements of the internet itself, of the internet age storytelling. And this is one of the few pieces of art that I can recall that was made during the pandemic times that actually was commenting about the pandemic times, even though it doesn't specifically say that in its piece. And I'm still a bit iffy about how 2020s is nearly over. You know, we're halfway through, and I still feel like we don't have many films or pieces of like you know, entertainment that we could cover on the podcast that really are like commentaries on it, on this thing that the whole world went through.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of different mediums have that same issue with the 2020s. It's I don't know if they've necessarily called it like you know, one of those sayings, it's like the missed decade or the decade that didn't happen. But even like the video game industry, like a lot of people point to like the big consoles and talk about how, you know, they haven't really had as many like iconic releases as previous generations have had. Like as of this recording, like there is a lot of speculation that like the next generation of PlayStation might come out in 2 years' time, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, we haven't really had like that many iconic PlayStation 5 games. Like, well, what is going on in this decade?"
Yeah, the thing that I'm circling back to about the authenticity, inauthenticity statements that we had at the beginning of this, that it still whirs around in my head because, like, do you think any performer that is reading from a script can be authentic? Like, when you, like, for instance, if you went to a stand-up comedy special that has dramatic elements in it, like that in a net show or whoever the case may be, can that still be authentic because they are performing from a script? They are doing it night to night.
No, I believe that it can be. It's just that with this, I walked in thinking that wasn't going to be an element that I would be thinking about.
Yeah.
It's like this made such a big impact on people that I thought it would be something that will be a bit more clear cut. Like, you know, I'm not going to have a doubt. This is going to be like straight from the heart. And definitely there are stuff that is straight from the heart, but I can't let go of like the doubts that I felt in so many moments. Like even with that final song, we mentioned that there were some parts in it where he's singing in an earlier part. When he first mentions, like, I think this is the end. I think I'm done now. Here's what might be the final song. When it did then cut back to him looking more disheveled in the past, it's like, oh, was this song then planned earlier? Like, even that was like a little moment of like doubt I had.
And they do that again and again, like with him going outside and then it's inside, like it's playing on that doubt and authenticity, and it's mocking it. It's making fun of it, but what's that purpose? Because I'm just trying to think like how to discuss this, which is like, it's by design, you know, it's not like he is hiding the fact that there's inauthenticity in the authenticity. Like, this is performative. That some of these behind the scenes things, you don't know if they're real or not. You know, we talk about Sacha Baron Cohen a lot this year, and he does that all of the time. With all of his work of like blurring the line of what's authentic or not, like what does he genuinely feel about these things? And he can hide behind being a character. He can hide behind being Borat. But what's he saying? What does he feel as a creative voice? And Bo Burnham is coming in and is like, this is me. I'm going to show you all these ugly things and all these positive things, but with each one of them, there's a clear performer happening. Like all of these songs, is there a song to you that feels heartfelt? Genuinely? Like, I feel like all of them always have like this level of cynical, snarky, you know, like this is, I'm having a go here. Like, I don't feel like there's a genuine heartfelt ballad, you know, like, you know, here's this, every one of them has something sincere about them, but like each one of them is just like, here's how I twist this into some kind of bitter pill to swallow.
No, with the songs, I don't have it as much. It's a lot of the stuff outside of the songs. Like when you see him like breaking down and getting frustrated, I can't help but feel that, like, is this actually happening in the moment, or is this like put on because the camera's rolling? Like if this was a film made by someone else who put cameras around his room and like was capturing these like genuine moments, like then I could understand it a bit more. But it is him doing this.
But here's the thing, like with that format of him stuck in this one room and there's a camera rolling and all of that, you're always going to wonder though, right? If it's real or not. Like there's always going to be that wonder, like is this moment a performance? Like is there any way that you could do it otherwise that it wouldn't feel like you would be questioning that? Like, if he does have a legitimate breakdown and that's caught on camera, wouldn't there always be some element of you thinking, like, that's probably not real because we're seeing it?
Mm.
Like, what's a way that you could be alleviated of this issue? And I don't think there is one, because inherently it's always going to be there, because this is a product that's made for us to consume. Like that's the delicate balancing act that he's often talking about in his songs and in the bits between of I'm making art, but also this is a product. And as an artist, what does that do to you as a person? Like you're making art, but also you're not. And I feel like those little moments in between where it's like he's having a breakdown or whatever, if they are real, we'll never know because there's a camera there and this is put on Netflix.
Mm.
But again, I wonder, like, why is that an issue? Because the whole thing is that commentary about that. Like about that weird zone where you want to be empowered by this man who you don't know. Like a lot of people didn't know Bo Burnham before this special came out, but people were wanting to be seen by someone. But he's constantly saying throughout the entire thing that you can't even see the real me through this because this is still a product being put out.
No, I agree with all of that. In terms of like what he could have done, I don't know the answer, but I was just hoping that, when I did watch it, like he would somehow achieve it.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work for me.
Didn't connect with you.
Yeah, I was really hoping that, it would give me some sort of insight.
Yeah. Is it just a case too of like you said at the beginning of this, you didn't have any issues during this event, and so is there a piece of art you think that gets into this that would connect with you? Because now we've done a few, and with a couple of them you didn't even like realize that they were making commentaries on this, and like we said with the previous Inside, like why didn't you think of that? You don't know. I am curious of in the future if there will be, and again, I personally feel like we need more art, more films, television, stuff that we talk about on here, that kind of gets into what the pandemic times were like and what they were doing, because I am curious, like in the future, will there be something that hits and lands for you? Because I am curious about that, because we have consumed so many movies and shows and whatnot that have hit subject matters that we ourselves have not gone through, but we empathized, related to, felt. This is a subject matter that we went through and we had different experiences, and yet so far none of them have really struck a chord with you.
I know, and I'm really, really keen to find it, because I know it's not an issue of me finding the reflection of what I went through. It's that I want to understand the different side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a hard ask to me, so it's not like I even look at this and like, how dare you not achieve it? It's just like, it's not this. It didn't work.
So that is Bo Burnham's Inside. I think that's all I have to say about it. I was wondering this. So he he does go towards the door a few times. So he tries to open it. There's the let's play thing. But really towards the end, that's when you notice how tall he is, because it's a regular sized door and he is so much taller than it.
Oh, he makes a joke during the Let's Play about like, is this character giant or is the room small? Was it was that always the case? Like, was the door always that small?
Yeah. He was rarely near, like he rarely interacts with it.
Right. I didn't think about it before or after that Let's Play moment. So
yeah. When you go back to him on the outside, him on the, opening the door, like it's, he's a very tall. That's another thing I knew about him. He's like 6'6".
That's tall.
Nearing 6'7". So he's a big guy, and so like a door for him, he's got to be shorter. But no, I do recommend this. I think this is an evocative piece of work. I think it's valuable and important to have more stuff like this that talks about or gets into the headspace. That's the thing too. Like that's a very tricky thing with anything like this. Is this is an art piece, a movie, a special, whatever you want to call it, that is very much about getting into a headspace more than anything else. And if you are someone who's like, I don't understand what that kind of headspace is like, you may not be able to connect with this. But I connected with it. I think a lot of people did. I think it's funny. That's something too. Like, I feel like we've talked about all these dramatic elements. It is very funny. Like, he's a very funny guy. Very dry humor.
I should also point out one other thing that this thing like succeeded in where other things kind of didn't. And you mentioned Purple Rain before. When it comes to musicals, if there are songs that are like too close together, like I tend to like disengage a bit. Like Purple Rain at the end has like 3 songs in a row. I know that these aren't, the highest class, but like the Bohemian Rhapsody and Michael also do a thing where like towards the end he got songs in a row.
It's not like a rock opera like The Wall or Tommy, which is like it's all songs.
Yeah, like I would even say, like, as much as I love Blues Brothers, there's like one part where there's 2 songs that are too close together. It's like Driving to Aretha Franklin, then her song. With this one, even though it is song after song after song, like I didn't feel that that sort of stuffy, too many songs in a row kind of thing. Like they were all unique enough and saying different things to where I engage with them, and I like the variety of styles. Like even in the segment I liked about reacting to the video, like the very like 60s bluesy kind of song about being an intern, like he went full on into it, and it was a lot of fun to listen to.
I liked how often the songs were just abruptly cut off as well. Like, so many of them didn't feel like they have an end to them. It's just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, there were a couple that like were in one ear out the other, but for the most part, like these were all quite enjoyable.
And I gotta commend too, did not expect as much nudity as we got in this. I was not walking in thinking we were gonna see as much as we did. And kudos to him as well. Like, you see the physical transformation of him over the course of this as well. Like, he's a very fit guy at the start of this, and then you get to a later part in the movie and he's just like much more schlubby and just puts it out there. You don't see anything fully, but you see enough, and I'm just like, okay, they're good commitment to this. Again, he's committed to this, which again, he himself is like, I'm far too committed to this. I need to stop at some point or else I'll die. And then the movie, then it ends, and it's just like the little credit sequence. It's just very simple, plain. It's just like, Bo Burnham did pretty much all of this. All right, that's it, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
In spite of, my iffy feelings, like I also do recommend it. There is a lot of things going on here that, a lot of fun. It's not insanely long. It's like just under 90 minutes. The songs are fun, and, so many people have connected to it. I'm sure that many more will.
Do you think you would ever check out any of his other material?
I accidentally downloaded the wrong one, actually, when I was getting this film. I deleted it, but maybe I will, This was one where it's the very common issue of like the hype backlash. This was very hyped up and even though I did walk in with kind of negative feelings like, oh, it's not even a movie. What are we doing this on the podcast for? There was the other side of it's like, oh, but because I'm walking in with negative feelings, if it's really good, I'm going to enjoy it even more.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the gamble didn't quite work. But, going forward, maybe I will check out some more of his stuff. I don't know anything about anything else he's done.
Yeah, Guy to Piano. One funny thing about, I think, his last special he did back in 2015, 2016, because he mentions he took a 5-year break. And
I think that's the one I downloaded.
Yeah.
Is it Make Happy or something?
The end of that special is him going to this room. So there you go. It's a weird setup, unexpected setup. So there you go. That's what I know. It's like, it's mentioned in the trivia. It's just like, oh, by the way, the end of that special it actually ends on this room. How weird is that type deal? So
it's his guest house, right?
Yeah. That's mention Weird Al offhandedly. What did you have any opinion on that? Like, Weird Al is a big figure. We like Weird Al. He has a lot of Weird Al influence. Like, I felt like a lot of his singing voice felt like very 90s Weird Al.
I was noticing that too. Yeah, he mentions Weird Al a few times. In it.
Yeah, he has the Venn diagram.
Yeah, when he's like smiling at the camera and being like jaunty, there was some Weird Alisms going on there.
I watched a brief review that mentioned the Weird Al thing, and I very much agree with this sentiment of it's like this weird perversion of Weird Al for many people is like this warm, cuddly figure who you look at with a very almost nostalgic glow. Like, he was a figure of your childhood in many ways, and still is. He's very nice. Weird Al's a great guy, and he's like so good that there's this TikTok user who does like celebrities and their sins, and literally Weird Al is one of 2 out of the thousands of celebrities that I've covered that have no sins. Like, the other one's Tim Curry, surprisingly. Okay. Tim Curry just apparently just like is a guy who's like, surprisingly, he doesn't have any dramas. No, seems like a nice guy.
I think Weird Al's always trying to have like a family friendly approach.
But
like, I remember
he doesn't swear.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Like, in I think 2016, the John Oliver show Last Week Tonight, they ended the year. 2016 was a year that everyone hated because of all the celebrity deaths and the
Trump.
Yes, I was going to say unpopular victory of an election. And so for the last episode, he had a thing where it's like, fuck you, 2016, and got like a whole host of celebrities, and they all said, fuck you, 2016, fuck you, 2016. And when it came to Weird Al, he was like awkwardly trying to like, shit on 2016 without saying swear words, and was, funny subversion.
But what I was going to get to is like the sentiment of Bo Burnham has a lot of the Weird Al-isms in him. But it feels like this kind of perverse thing where Weird Al would never address things this way, but this very much has the Weird Al kind of vibe to it, just the singing voice, the musical stylings. But it's like, if Weird Al let you into his depressed mind, what would that look like? And that's kind of what this gets into, and it does kind of unnerve you in a weird way, because it does play up on like this figure of hope that we know, and he very knowingly is doing that in this as well. Like, it's referenced multiple times, and it's just this, what an artistic challenge that is, of just like, hey, I'm gonna do my thing. Obviously Weird Al's an inspiration point, because is there any musical comedian who can't be inspired by Weird Al in some way in this modern landscape? It's kind of difficult.
Yeah, I remember there was that Red Letter Media review episode on Weird Al's film, the UHF, and they talk about how, like, yeah, he's like the one consistent musician that's been working for like this long to modern day
for pretty much my entire life. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. He did a song for a Pokemon movie, for fuck's sake. That's how good Weird Al is. So take all of that and throw it into something like the pandemic times, and just your waking nightmares that you're not good enough and life is going to be over, and so on and so forth. What does that look like? Surprisingly like this. So very entertaining, but...
Yeah, so Bo Burnham, if you want to be like Weird Al, you have to just be the longest working musician.
Yeah, they're both tall. Not as tall. Weird Al's not as tall, but he's tall. He's a decent height. But that is it for this. Bartek, it is your turn now to give us a film recommendation. What is up next on our podcast?
Sure. So, very funny thing. I had a film set for recommending. I'm like, oh yes, this film, and then I realized just before I left, like, oh, it's not a foreign pick; it's a Hollywood pick. Whoops. But I do still have one. I was looking through a couple of different films that I'd be interested in, and this one was kind of like a last minute, like, oh yeah, I was always interested in that one. I'm pretty sure Ryan has seen it. I'm pretty sure I've heard him mention it before, so this might be another revisit for you. But it is my first time recommending a Coen Brothers film. Yep, and I didn't realize that this is still their most recent one.
Yeah.
They haven't made one since 2018, and it's The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Yes, because they've gone off to be filmmakers individually.
Okay, I see. Oh, yes, that's right. I've heard that.
Yes. One of them's only made one film. One of them's made a couple. So one of them made a Macbeth adaptation, I want to say, with Denzel Washington as Macbeth. And then the other has made very divisive movies that is a part of a trilogy. The third one's yet to come out, but it's the lesbian trilogy, basically, where it's a film about a bunch of lesbians. Because we'll talk about it next time, I guess, but
Sure.
One of the Coen brothers is married to a lesbian. It's very interesting.
Okay.
It's a very interesting dynamic. And the other one's married to Frances McDormand. So there you go.
Oh,
Yeah. It's so Ballad of Buster Scruggs, an anthology film.
yeah, I read that. That's interesting.
I wondered if it was going to be that or Hail Caesar.
Those were the only two from the last 10 years, and I've seen Hail Caesar, so I
Yeah.
picked the other one.
Yeah, okay. Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I had a slam dunk pick, but I'm like, oh, I have to save it for the foreign pick.
Come back next time. That has a meme, Ballad of Buster Scruggs. You'll see it, but there's a famous meme that came from that movie.
Oh, like a visual or a line?
Yeah, visual meme.
Visual.
And a line combined. But, yep, you'll see. I wonder if when it happens, you're like, oh, it's from this.
I don't know.
But we'll
yeah.
see next time on the
Basically,
pod.
all I know is that it had like an Oscar-nominated song, the Traded Spurs for Wings.
Yep. Oh boy, there's going to be a lot of fun things to discuss. So
I'm mostly
everyone,
going in blind. Yeah.
make sure to tune in and listen to our Ballad of Buster Scruggs. By the way, a Netflix joint. Another one of those things in which big filmmakers had to scurry to the streaming site because of the times are now weird like that, I guess. We'll talk about it more in detail. Until then, you can find us on your social medias of Facebook and Twitter. You can also email us at our email address, which is spitandpolished@gmail.com. If you have things to say to us or if you have recommendations, hit us up on all of those. But we're on all of those podcasting sites, aren't we, Bartek? People can find us fairly easily on the internet.
Pretty easily. If you look up Spit and Polish Presents and then chuck one of our names on, you'll probably get the results. You won't get shoe shining stuff.
You won't get shoe shining stuff.
Unless there's an iconic Bartek in the shoe shining industry.
Yeah, there will be now. They're inspired by us.
Ooh.
Have you ever thought that our podcast has gone long enough that it could be an inspiration for someone?
Yeah, it could
Ever think
be.
about that? Ever think about how our podcast is old enough to be a student that you teach?
It's
Ever
fun.
think about that?
You mentioned earlier in this episode, what is a YouTuber? Like, it's just we upload our stuff on YouTube because,
That's what it is.
Yeah, we upload things on like the podcatching sites, but like, hey, why not YouTube as well? Some people use YouTube. And I still remember back in the old Unappreciated Masterpieces days where we got a lot of comments from people who were dissatisfied because they were expecting something else. One of the negative comments was something along the lines of like, I know you guys are just chasing your big YouTuber fame by, doing this clickbait stuff. And it was just very funny to read because this is, a side thing for us.
Yeah.
We're mainly on like the big actual audio things.
Yeah, and it's all different landscape now. When we first started, the idea of podcasts on YouTube was a no-no. People were like, I don't know about that. Now it's just a given. People are like, it's video podcasts now. Do they count as podcasts? I don't even know how to feel about video podcasts. It's like, it kind of feels counterintuitive. But that's a discussion for another day. Thank you all so much for listening. Remember to be kind to each other or you'll be stuck inside with Willem Dafoe. Which naked person did you prefer to see? Willem Dafoe or Bo Burnham in the Inside cinematic universe?
I think Defoe was more subtle about his exposure.
More muscular, too.
Yeah, but there was a lot more yucky stuff going on in his circumstances.
It's true.
Yeah. But then Bo Burnham, he's a little bit vain about himself. I don't know. It's hard.
Did you feel seen by Bo Burnham because he has your exact facial hair and hairstyle right now?
Does he?
Beard and long hair. He did when he was naked, yeah. When he's sitting in the profile. He basically has your look.
I guess Steve Carell in that one part of Evan Almighty has kind of set the bar high, so I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah, you got to think about that now. That you watch enough, there's enough people who look like you. I used to look like Weird Al, so
that's true. Yeah, and you met Weird Al.
Yeah, when I was a young boy, it was my first big gig was to see Weird Al for the Poodle Hat tour.
So hold on, you have generally positive feelings about Bo Burnham's Inside. If you look at me, are you now going to like associate the two?
No, you're short, and you're
and you hate that.
I hate. He's really tall. I won't associate because he's really tall and blonde, and you're not blonde. That is.
Was he blonde?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't he brown haired?
It's because it got long.
Got long.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's also, did you notice that he was inside? So he didn't have any lights to make his hair dark. He's a blonde. Traditionally, you can tell by his beard, too, that he's a blondie boy.
You know, I'm going to headcanon it that it's the opposite, actually, that you enjoyed this because it reminded you of me and you liked
I
me.
liked, I thought, you know what? You remind me of Willem Dafoe. That's what I'm going to say. You remind me of Willem.
But isn't he tall?
No.
He isn't?
No. And you know what? No, I don't think he is. I've never... Do you get the vibe that Willem Dafoe's a tall guy?
Not like super tall, but he doesn't... I don't get short vibes from him.
Yeah, I doubt.
How old?
How old is he? He's 70 years old.
How old is his height?
How old is his height? So, Willem Dafoe height. Everyone, this is what you're sticking around for in the after. He's 5'9".
Okay. What's that in centimeters?
5'9" is...
I think that's what I am.
1.75 meters tall. So, whatever that is.
I'm 7'7", 177.
Some sites say he's 5'7", so I don't know what the truth is. Everyone, IMDb says he's 5'7", so he's short. He's a short boy.
That's shorter than me.
Yeah, I told you he's short. I've never felt that Willem Dafoe is tall.
Okay.
Maybe when he was in Green Goblin where he was wearing like go-go boots.
Maybe that's where I'm getting it from.
Yeah. You're like, Gob, he's tall, because you were a little boy when you first saw it.
2001.
Yeah.
On the big screen.
Oh, you saw Spider-Man on the big screen?
I'm pretty sure. I think I saw all three of Raimi's on the big screen.
Yeah, I never got to see any of them on the big screen. I was too busy seeing the Austin Powers movies on the big screen instead. I saw all of those on the big screen.
I didn't even know about Austin Powers until years after.
Shame.